Oos! Welcome back to FaZe Fitness, guys. So today we're going to discuss a few minor changes you can make to your diet that either help you gain the weight you're looking for and or lose the weight you're looking for. Everyone's diet consists of carbohydrates, fat, and protein. Now when it comes to your weight gain or loss, usually it's because you're eating either too much or too little of carbohydrates and or the wrong kind of carbohydrates. So we're going to go over sort of good carbs and bad carbs, and how much you should take and how much you shouldn't take depending on what kind of gains or losses you're looking for. Now we burn carbs to get energy. If you're taking in an excess amount of carbohydrates and not burning it for energy, your body is then going to store it as fat. So we're not going to go over all the foods that contain carbohydrates and their details, because this will take forever and end up being a food nutrition class. So we're going to discuss the 4 main foods that tend to be an issue or problems for people when it comes to weight gain. Number 1, we have pasta, then we have rice, then we have potatoes, and we have bread. Now when we think of these foods, pasta or potatoes, they're thick and they're heavy, and you tend to get really full off those. So on one end you have white rice, regular white potatoes, you have regular pasta, and you have white bread. And on the other hand, you have sweet potato, you have brown rice or jasmine or basmati rice, whole wheat pasta, and whole wheat bread. Now what's equal about these is that when you eat them, your body's going to use this for energy. So it's going to use these to burn for energy, and that takes a certain amount of time. So on one end, you have the white rice and etc. On this side, it takes a certain amount of time for your body to burn. So let's say it burns at a certain rate. Once you're done, you're gonna want more because you're gonna want to burn more carbohydrates for energy. So now on the other end, these foods contain more fiber, and what fiber does, it just elongates the process and allows the carbs to burn slower, which gives you more energy over time. It doesn't encourage you or make you want to eat more so soon. Also, the sweet potato, the brown rice, and the whole wheat and the whole grain food, they have a much higher nutritional value. And I'm not sure if you knew, but this is a fun fact. Your taste buds, their job is supposed to, when you eat food, it actually measures the nutritional value in the food. And if it's low, it tells you to eat more, and if there's a good amount, you're not going to be as hungry or want that food. That's the reason that you can't only have one potato chip. You can eat an entire bag of potato chips or a bowl, but when you eat a banana, very rarely do you have 2 bananas. The reason is a banana actually has 98% of the nutrients that you have in your body, whereas a potato chip has literally nothing. When you're eating these foods, you're also going to feel more full, which is also going to be a reason you're not going to want to eat more. That's why you can eat so much pasta or so much rice, or it makes it easier for you to eat it because there's so much less nutritional value. The sweet potato and the whole grain food, they actually have less carbohydrates per serving. So one potato or a certain amount of pasta, this side is going to have less carbohydrates in the same amount of serving. So you won't be getting that excess carbohydrates, and also it's going to be burning a lot slower. So you're going to have less carbohydrates burning for a longer period of time. Now all these foods are not treated equally, because when it comes to carbs, if you want to make sure you're eating the best carbs, you want to kick out the bread and the pasta, because the bread and the pasta, whether it's whole wheat or not, both contain flour, and flour, regardless whether it's wheat or not, is highly processed, and it really is going to break down to sugar really fast, and it's going to turn right into fat as well. So I would suggest that you stick with the sweet potato and the brown rice, or the jasmine or basmati rice, and you can look that up. Those are your best choices for carbs. And if you're looking to put on mass or just put on weight, going with a sweet potato or brown rice based carbohydrates and increasing that a couple more times throughout the day and also throughout your week, you're going to get some carbs that are better for you. It's more nutritious, and it's going to give you more energy, and where on the other end it'll give you less energy, and also it's going to burn faster, which is going to cause you to eat more, and most likely a lot of it's going to be excess, and it's going to turn to fat. And it's going to be harder for you to turn that body weight into muscle. And if you want to lose weight, you got to realize, how often are you eating the bread and the pastas, and you might want to start, changing those to potatoes and rice, and then making a healthier choice with the sweet potato and the brown rice and the other types of rice I've I talked about, and then lowering your intake, not doing it every day, and just starting to go lower and seeing how your body feels, and start there and see how your body reacts to it and how you feel for the next couple of weeks, and then keep taking it a step slower, and then kind of find out what works for you while you're supplementing with your cardio training and your physical training. Also, last thing, there's a lot of information going back and forth about the details of each food and what's good and what's not, but one thing you really want to make sure is that carbohydrates are these starches, these complex called carbs, which are the bigger, heavier carbs. The reason that people really started eating these on a regular basis is because these marathon runners and these professional athletes need to burn a really high amount of fat and calories, and they're going to be using all those carbs, and they're not going to store it because they're constantly using it. That's why they say have pasta before a big run or a big event, but you don't typically need to be eating that. Also, it's not a very good dinner food because as soon as you put it in your body, it's going to be looking to use it. Because your body does not store carbohydrates very well, so it looks to use it right away. So when you go to sleep, you're literally just sleeping on it. So that's something that you're gonna want to have midday, between breakfast and lunch and your lunch, so that you use it and burn it before you go to sleep, because that's where that timing can really hurt you. So depending on your age, I suggest and encourage you guys to talk with your parents or do some research and look at some recipes and some different things that you can have, because when people make diet changes, they're always so worried about, oh, am I gonna like it, because they're so used to one thing being a typical way that they really like. So it's gonna take some time, and it's gonna take some work to go out there and find out what foods that you like and how you can work them into your food. Because I don't really believe in having to eat stuff that you just hate and having to be like, oh, this this doesn't taste good. But you have to take some time to figure it out and kind of work it into your diet and still love what you eat. All right, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Any questions you have, put them in the comments below, and I will see you guys soon. Oos.